problem like Zack Snyder. Find out on today's Nerdist News what the Fridays. The hills are alive with no sound of Snyder. Okay, so now that it's been almost a month since Batman v Superman Dawn of Justin came out, I think we can all agree that, love it or hate it, the movie was not an ideal start to the DC cinematic universe. It was a critical failure and left even the most die-hard fans completely divided, which is nothing we should have to say about a movie featuring the holy trinity of comic book heroes, let alone one that cost approximately $50 gazillion. With Marvel's hero versus hero flick Captain America Civil War coming in just 2 weeks and early reviews pegging it as one of the best comic book movies ever, it's becoming clear that DC desperately needs what Marvel has. A Kevin Feige, someone who knows and loves the characters, knows the film business, and knows how to oversee and parse out a cinematic universe over dozens of consistent stories. As of now, that person is Zack Snyder, not because he's in creative control of all the movies in the DCEU, which he isn't, but because by giving him the keys to Batman v Superman with no Feige-like oversight, he's basically been able to design and configure the entire cinematic universe. So now we're stuck with an obnoxious Jolly Rancher chomping Lex Luthor, a killer Batman, an axe spear wielding Robin, and a mopey Superman who has to constantly be reminded why he wants to be a superhero by his ghost dad and Martha Mom. Kind of a bummer. Obviously, DC needs to find them a Feige stat, a creative voice that can help these great filmmakers draw within some lines that'll make fans happy. But who should it be? Let's break down some options. Number 1, George Miller. One of the greatest living action directors was just nominated for an Oscar for a friggin' Mad Max movie. He is clearly on Warner Brothers' good side and was even once attached to make a Justice League movie called Justice League Mortal that would have come out alongside The Dark Knight but lived in its own pocket universe. Miller has experience making big characters like Furiosa feel human and relatable, and happens to have also been behind the earnest, more kid-friendly Babe, Pig in the City. So yeah, he'd be a pretty perfect choice. But Miller already turned down the chance to direct Man of Steel 2, so he probably wouldn't even be in the running. Next up, David Ayer. Despite initially scaring us with some of its design choices, Suicide Squad looks absolutely great so far, and clearly Warner Brothers thinks so, since they've been showing off a ton of footage over the past year and have already greenlit a sequel with Ayer and his cast returning. Ayer excels at gritty reality, but what we've seen of Suicide Squad makes it clear that he isn't afraid to delve into full-on bonkers fantasy. Now, while we haven't seen the movie yet, and it could still be a totally huge turd, for now we've got to say that it seems like he'd be a great choice. Next, let's look at the elephant in the room, Christopher Nolan. The man who managed to bring newfound respect to the superhero genre with his Oscar-winning Batman franchise was credited as a producer on both Man of Steel and Batman v Superman, but does he deserve credit or does he deserve blame? While Nolan has kept mum throughout BVS's release, Zack Snyder invokes his name at any opportunity. Should WB back up the money truck to bring Nolan back? Would he even have any interest in the less realistic alien and meta-human-filled DCEU? Our guess is that he's over it. Rule him out. But enough of these writer/director types because they're just too possessive. How about someone who knows how to manage creatives and is a storyteller in their own right? If that sounds more your speed, then 2 great choices immediately come to mind: Geoff Johns and Greg Berlanti. In addition to being one of the stronger comic book writers in recent history with experience on major superhero shows like Smallville, Arrow, and Flash, Johns is the current CCO at DC Comics. The dude knows DC like no other, and he's even co-writing the screenplay to Ben Affleck's Batman solo flick. He'd be a perfect candidate, though it is a little concerning that Johns was already an executive producer on BVS and served as a creative consultant on that terrible, awful Green Lantern movie.
I know, right?
So how about Greg Berlanti, the showrunner behind Arrow, Flash, Supergirl, and Legends of Tomorrow? While DC's cinematic universe has so far proven to be grim and dark, Berlanti's TVU is bright, hopeful, and honestly amazing. If Warner Brothers chose to utilize him for the same function on the film side, Marvel would have some serious competition. Plus, we'd be even closer to getting what we really want, a DC movie/TV crossover. The only catch is, He actually wrote the Green Lantern movie. God damn it, Berlanti, why? Why does everybody work on that f***ing film?
I know, right?
Look, guys, the way we see it, some of these candidates are too hot, some are too cold, and there's but one option that's just right. Paul Dini and Bruce Timm, the masterminds behind Batman the Animated Series. These guys have been doing the whole DCU right for over 20 years, with Bruce Timm executive producing the best DC animated universe flicks like The Dark Knight Returns and an actually good Batman vs. Superman movie, Batman Superman Public Enemies. Paul Dini has been working as a writer in the coolest Batman properties like the Arkham games and is the creator of Harley Quinn herself. These guys get both the darkness and the light you need to tell satisfying stories with these characters. They'd help bring us the cinematic Batman and Superman we deserve, and Warner Brothers we implore. Nay, we demand you do the right thing and bring them on as your twin Feiges. Justice League is already in production, folks. We're running out of time. You need to get a move on. Stat. So get to it! But what do you guys think? Who would you like to see become DC's Kevin Feige? Who on our list do you like? Are there any candidates we're not considering? Is it too late? Yep. Let's discuss. Kyle, you and Dan sure made a mess of things while I was gone, but I can forgive.
Yeah, we did the best we could.
You actually are pretty funny. Yeah. I'll admit it. Just not.
You get it, you know,
I get
like
it.
that thing that we do?
No, I like
yeah.
So what's on Because Science?
I'm pitting a lightsaber versus Captain America's shield.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Right?
Good one, Kyle.
Yeah.
All right, guys, you can find it out over at Nerdist.com. Legit, I sound like I'm making fun of it, but that's legit really awesome.
Thank you. I try.